We're turning our attention to the Republic of Ireland against Portugal. Kickoff is at 7:45. The game is live on Off the Ball on News Talk tonight. Joe's going to be in situ for the whole game from the Aviva, and then Nathan and Stewie Byrne are going to be bringing you live commentary from 7:45 as well. I'm delighted to say, to help preview the game, we've got Simon Cox with us this morning. Simon, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, we're all very, very, very excited. It's a full house, which actually hasn't happened since the start of the pandemic. There's a bit of confidence around the team. The style of play is getting people enthusiastic, and Cristiano Ronaldo is riding into town. So what's your level of excitement like ahead of this game?
Listen, I think it's going to be one of those games where everybody is just fully excited for the game. The players, the fans, everybody want to test yourself against a decent Portugal side, obviously with Cristiano Ronaldo into town, which is good. So, listen, but buoyed by the last couple of results and, hopefully going into the game full of confidence.
So when a team like Portugal, who are supposed to be one of the best teams in the world and who do well in tournaments, including winning some, rolls in against a side like Ireland, who at the moment are hovering between the third and fourth pots in terms of seeding, what is the actual word like in the team? What are they talking about? What is their level of worry? What is their level of hope? What's that like for you guys?
It would just be, going into the dressing room and being happy to be in the game, making sure that they know their jobs, defensively and offensively. Listen, you can't just go in with a game plan to stop Cristiano Ronaldo because there's too many other players. You see what, likes of Bernardo Silva and João Cancelo and stuff like that. So it just, you can't have a game plan for one person. So, listen, they'll know what it takes. Obviously, the result in Portugal was a bad one in the end, but ultimately the performance was pretty decent. It just came up against probably arguably one of the best players in the world. So they'll go into the game full of confidence and make sure that they stick to the game plan as best they can. And
there's a bit of debate at the moment, right? So we know more than likely we're going to play three at the back, but Andrew Omobamidele has an Achilles injury, didn't train yesterday, hasn't been ruled out officially, but the word is that he's unlikely to play. Seamus Coleman has had some injury issues with his hamstring recently, and there was a hint that perhaps he won't start. Would you start Seamus Coleman tonight and let the Luxembourg game look after itself, or when there's a contract up for grabs, is the long-term result against Luxembourg actually going to end up being more important than what happens tonight?
No, I think you have to play your best team. Seamus Coleman, been there, seen it, done it for Ireland, for Everton. Big games. He's a big game player. Somebody who, in the dressing room, will be fired up and will fire the boys up. I would imagine he has to play.
What is Seamus Coleman like in the dressing room before a game of this magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for me, when I was obviously in the squads and stuff, he was a bit of a younger player, so it wasn't very much a vocal person, but by all accounts, as soon as he got the captaincy, that was him. Then he'd all the sort of doubt got lifted off his shoulders, and then he started to sort of take the captaincy on a little bit more from his own experiences. So I think he's a lot more vocal now, and listen, he's one of the most experienced players that they have on the pitch. So rightly so, and I'm sure he'll be firing into a few boys, whether that be in the dressing room. That might even just be like a little word in the ear for some of the younger players who possibly haven't had that sort of level of experience in these sort of big games. So he'll be doing it as much as he can. Listen, whether he plays or not, I'm sure he'll be the exact same person.
What are you looking for from your captain on a night like tonight when you are an underdog? Are you looking for that passion, the sort of belief from the captain, or is there a sense that he needs to provide a sense of calm and to try and target any of the nerves that might be around the dressing room?
Me personally, I want him to make me believe that we can do it. And that's something that I've been lucky to have at some of the clubs and obviously even with Ireland with Robbie. Always made me believe that we were the better team. Always made me believe that we were capable of winning the game. So I'm sure Seamus will be going around to the likes of even Big Shane Duffy at the back. These people have got big characters, so it's easy for them to go around and say, we believe what we're doing. You just have to make everybody else believe it.
How much of a lift does that give you? Like, even not so much with the captain, but even from the manager and what the manager says publicly, the idea that they can, I don't know, sit in front of the media and say, you know what, we believe that this Ireland team is good enough. Because sometimes in the past we've seen Ireland managers maybe put their hands up a little bit too easily and say that this group of players aren't as good as their opponents. How much of a lift would it give you from your experience and this bunch of players, from the manager or from the captain, speaking publicly and talking up this team?
As long as the game plan is correct, as long as you're not sort of saying one thing in the media and one thing to the players, you have to sort of be very consistent across the board. But ultimately, if Stephen Kenny and his coaching staff, their game plan, and they believe in their game plan and they make the players believe, then ultimately the players will definitely buy into it. You've seen over the course of Stephen Kenny's tenure that the style of football's changed. Even changing of the players has changed, and it's now about progressing that on. And listen, whatever the result is tonight isn't going to be seen that Stephen Kenny is a failure or he's the right man for the job. But ultimately, it's what they've been doing throughout this last sort of 17, 18 games under his tenure that we'll just keep going, and hopefully that they can get a decent result tonight, and we can move on to the Luxembourg game.
It's going to be interesting tonight, Simon, to see what attack he lines up with, because in the first game in Faro, Idah was incredible, and there's a real expectation, of course, that he's going to start again tonight. What have you made of his performances in the green shirt of Ireland, and also maybe how that is impacted by just not getting a crack in the Premier League so far this season, anyway?
Yeah, listen, I think he's a very good player. I think he's got something to offer that we don't really have at the minute, and he's very unselfish. He does all the horrible stuff. He does the sort of holding the ball up. He does the running in the channels. He does the harrying of the defenders, which then allows the likes of Callum Robinson to sort of get into the game and into better positions to score goals. So, listen, I think in that Portugal game away, I thought he was outstanding without getting any reward for what he did. Yes, if you're being ultra critical, you'd want him to score more goals. But listen, first and foremost for him, he's more about the team and making sure that he does a good job for the team.
What sort of partnerships do you think could develop for Ireland then in those attacking positions over the next little while?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you can have Adam and Callum sort of firing, then they're obviously a really good partnership because I think if you looked at the Qatar game, a lot of Callum's goals or a lot of his dangerous positions, they came in from the left. So it looks like it would be sort of Adam as the focal point and Callum off of the left, whether you play a 3 or whether you play Callum in behind Adam. So ultimately, the more they play together, the better they'll be. I'm hoping that if they do play together tonight, we can see a little bit more of that than what we saw the last campaign.
Because there's also a possibility that what we end up with is Callum Robinson as kind of a false 9 and 2 very hard-working runners, maybe Knight and Brown, maybe McGrath, and I mean, there's a possibility James McLean ends up there. So it kind of is all on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll only know that at sort of 6 o'clock, 6:30 when the team sheet's released. But whatever team he goes with tonight, the manager, I think you have to be very disciplined. This is the type of night that, again, similar to the away leg, not going to have the ball. You have to be very disciplined. You're going to have to play on the break, which then probably brings in Adam Idah to the starting lineup just purely and simply as an outlet. Someone who can run the channels, possibly try and win free kicks, somebody to, whether it be a throw-in to, relieve pressure and then bring other players into play. So, whatever if it is 5 across the middle, if it is 5 at the back, whatever it is, they have to have that game plan. They have to have that structure in place to be able to withstand a lot of pressure that's going to come their way.
Are you seeing that structure evolve over the last number of games? Because there's been a lot of criticism of the style of play from some of your former teammates and from some of the lads who played before you for Ireland that we were trying to play too much football too soon. What's your view on that whole process and where we're going?
Yeah, you're never going to change anything overnight. And when Stephen got the job, and it was sort of in the, he sort of came in possibly a little bit too early for me, with obviously the Mick generation happening. But he had to get rid of a few people as well. You know, the likes of Glenn Whelan was moved on, and Johnny Walters and things like people like they've moved on. It's now a completely different generation now, and this is a sort of thing that has to take time. So listen, I've been critical as well of not winning a game in however many it was at the start. It just wasn't right. But slowly and surely started to see a little bit more of what he wanted and what he was trying to implement into the players. But I mean, for me, I don't think you can take the last sort of 2 or 3 games since the Portugal game. Playing teams like Qatar, I think you should comfortably beat them. So it's just one of those. Hopefully that we can continue on that road of winning games, but you can see the progression that Stephen Kenny and his team have obviously done, because results have actually changed. So this is a big test tonight, but like you guys said before, I think the Luxembourg game is probably the most important game.
The point about the style of play evolving, Kenny wants the style to evolve because he believes that that's the best chance of giving us success into the future. That the way the game is played now, you actually need to be able to play some football and control a little bit of possession at various stages, which is a little bit different from how we would have played under Martin O'Neill and even under Trapattoni as well. Do you agree with that? That actually the game now can't just be played the same way it was in the early noughties and under Martin O'Neill, that actually we do need to change?
Yeah, as well as the players are used to that at club level. So the worst thing for them would be to go to their team, most of the year and play some nice stuff, play out from the back and get into positions, and then come away with a national team and play something completely different, whether it be kick it long or whatever. So I think Steve has got it right in terms of we're going to try and create what you do at club level into international level. And you're right in saying that majority of teams nowadays, they play out. It's being very, very well coached, and that's obviously something that he believes in. There's nothing worse than being put on a pitch and sort of everyone going, what are we doing here really? We trying to play. You got a little bit of indecisiveness where some are trying to play, some are trying to kick it long, some are trying to run, some are trying to, do whatever. So I think he's got it. I think at the minute he's got it right with trying to pass the ball, and as long as it's not overplaying, then I'm all for
it. The various players of your generation are starting to come through as managers. Duffer's taking a job with Shelbourne in the League of Ireland. Robbie Keane obviously is definitely interested in a career in management. Was Robbie always managerial material? Is that something that you would have anticipated him going into?
I think it's definitely something that he would have added value to, whether that be as a manager or whether that be as an assistant or whatever. I think he, when somebody like Robbie Keane's telling you something, you absolutely listen. So, I can see him being a manager. It's just whether he, at what level and how successful he will be. I'm sure he will be if given the chance.
Coaching seems to be in your future as well, Simon. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to get on that managerial merry-go-round as it is at the minute.
How's that going?
Yeah, listen, it's tough. I've done all my badges apart from the pro license. So I've done my UEFA B and A. It's just about applying for jobs and getting into the contacts and that I've amassed over the years, and just trying to help wherever I can. It's, I don't necessarily want to be a manager right now. I want to go and learn somewhere and hope that, I can add value to a club or to a team in whichever way that is. So it's just a time thing, I think, at the minute.
It's a really interesting period to be going into management, because Damien Duff last week was saying that if you take your first job and it doesn't go well for you, you're kind of tired of that label for the rest of your life or for the rest of your career, or it's certainly harder to get back on the horse again. Is that kind of why you're thinking of maybe going into an assistant's role, or learning a little bit for a little bit longer, because you know how important that first job is?
Yeah, but I think if somebody offered you the first job, I don't think you'd turn it down. I think, sometimes you learning on the job is probably, your best education. So if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, look, you got the manager's job of X club, I definitely wouldn't turn it down. You'd have to then quickly assemble, a backroom staff that you trust and try and do your best you can. Ultimately, I think you get a little bit of a reprieve from taking the first one if it doesn't go well, because people will look at it and go, oh, it was his first job, and whether it went, if it went poorly, then you can turn around and go, didn't have the experience, or so didn't probably have the right backroom staff or whatever, or the players. So listen, taking the first job is something that hopefully will come soon. But for Duffer, I think that's a great job for him. He has that stature, being able to walk in the dressing room, demand respect straight away, and good luck to him.
One point you made earlier about the players at club level playing football out from the back and spending time on the ball, and then it wouldn't be great for them to go and then play for the national side where it's kick it long or whatever. There was a bit of that for you in your career, right? You would have played with footballing teams and then come to play for Ireland, and Trapattoni liked to get the ball from back to front pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I was at West Brom or even at Forest, we tried to play, but not overplay. More so at West Brom, it was more, be solid in compact shape and be in positions to receive the ball and just be hard working. And then all of a sudden, because I guess it was because of the sort of lack of English that Giovanni and Marco could converse, it wasn't really the sort of type of football that you would expect. So I mean, it was different, but we had a really good group, a very experienced group of players that were able to pretty much dictate the way we played anyway. So it was fine.
That is always the interesting thing. It seems like how much of it was what Trapattoni wanted and how much of it was actually what the players thought was going to work. It seems like there was an interesting dynamic there, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at sort of pre-2012, it was likes of Shea in goal, John O'Shea, Richard Dunn, these big players at the back, and then all of a sudden you go into midfield of Keith and Glenn, and then you've got Duffer on the wide, and then you got Robbie and Kevin Doyle up front. As a team goes, that's not a bad spine of a team, and full of players who have played at big teams at a very good level for a long time. So you have to play to people's strengths. Robbie's wasn't running the channels; it was getting into his feet and let him do his stuff. Kevin Doyle's was being that run into the channels and help the team that way. But you knew that at the back you were in safe hands with big Richard Dunn and Shea at the back. So, it was you have to sort of sometimes, play to the players' strengths, regardless of your ethos of football. So, but with Ireland at the minute, they seem like they've got a young, energetic group. So why not go play young, energetic football and with a little bit of structure towards it?
Yeah, it feels like we're getting there. Certainly, as a casual observer of this, do you think we're going to get a result tonight?
I think a positive result might not even be, a win or a draw. I think as long as the performance is very good and it's not a, 4-5-6, then as long as it's if it's a narrow 1-0 defeat, I think players will probably take that just purely and simply on the basis of you can continue seeing the progression that the last 2 or 3 games have been. So I can see a sort of hard fought 1-1 or a 0-0. Frustrating Portugal. I think you saw especially in the in the away leg, Ronaldo was getting a little bit frustrated. Obviously, missing the penalty, or great save for the penalty. So if you can sort of frustrate him, then it could be a really good night for Ireland.